Hey, extremely busy. What's up? It's a culture detective here investigating your favorite animes, and today I am finally 4 weeks into 2025 and I'm finally doing my first anime review of the year. And that review would be Dungeon Meshi, or the English translation is Delicious in Dungeon. So yeah, Dungeon Meshi is based off of a manga written by Kui Ryoko, and it is adapted by none other than Studio Trigger into an anime. And this anime has been on a lot of people's top anime lists back in 2024, and it slowly piqued my interest, and I'm like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna watch it too. And I was quite intrigued, I have to say. In fact, so much so that Dungeon Meshi ended up being in my top 10 favorite animes of the year list. Now, Dungeon Meshi is again adapted by Studio Trigger, and Studio Trigger is well known for making these insane, overblown, comedic action animes. So Dungeon Meshi feels completely unlike anything Studio Trigger is known for. So a lot of people went into this anime not knowing what to expect, and surprisingly, this is not like any other Studio Trigger animes at all. This anime is, for the most part, a comfy slice of life fantasy anime about food. So it is about four adventurers, which is respectively Laios, the regular guy, the most regular of all regular, but also at the same time a little bit freaky. We have Marcel, who is a witch. I guess that's I guess that's not how you would describe her. She's a wizard. She could do magic. We have Chilchuck, who is a half foot who can unlock locks, and then we have this guy Senshi who can cook. So these four adventurers have to go down the dungeon to save Lio's sister, who is Falin, voiced by none other than Hayami Saori. And on their way down, they ran out of food. So what do you do when you run out of food? You eat the monsters in the dungeon. So that's basically the entire premise of the anime. Now, at first, I wasn't that impressed. I mean, sure, it is a comfy anime, it feels good, but honestly, slice of life isn't really my thing, so I wasn't really that interested in the story of Dungeon Meshi at first. And the world building doesn't really go anywhere in the first half of the season, and by that I mean like the first 10 episodes or so. There isn't actually a lot of world building. You just go down layer by layer, and it's not like Made in Abyss where every layer you go down it gets more and more dangerous. At times, the anime really tests our suspension of disbelief. Now, I really like the concept of eating monsters, but sometimes you're just like, how the hell are you going to eat that? Like living armor, which is just clanky sheets of metal. As it turns out, the living armor is controlled by clusters of mollusks, so kind of like clams. So, okay, I get it. I eat clams too. Clams taste great. Some people eat snail. You know what? I can see it working out. But a couple of episodes later, we have treasure bugs. You know, treasure like jewelry and chain and gold, and they turn out to be insects. And I'm like, okay, how the hell are they gonna eat that? And somehow Kuryoko managed to turn that into candy. Like if you fry it up and coat it with sugar, it actually tastes like candy, like hard candy, which is really creative. The show really goes to extreme lengths to deliciify something, like the undine the Undine, which is, I didn't even know what an Undine was. I've never heard of that. Turns out it's a real. By the way, every single mythological creature in Dungeon Meshi is actually based off of a real myth. But the Undine is essentially a water monster, which is based off of European folklore, and it's not supposed to be a ball of water. Like in according to folklore, it's supposed to be like a mermaid or something. But anyways, in Dungeon Meshi, the Undine is a ball of water, and I'm just like, how are they gonna eat this? Of course they don't. They drink this. They boil it into water and drank it. And then they kill the dragon. Minor spoiler alert, but of course they had to kill a dragon at some point. And they decided to eat the dragon, of course, and somehow it tastes like steak. Somehow they turned the dragon meat into steak, and with the red juicy middle parts and all that stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, a dragon is basically a lizard, a giant lizard that can fly. If anything, it should taste like fish, or at least chicken. It doesn't make sense that it has red meat, And on top of that, Senshi carries all of these things with him all the time, like pot, like different vegetables, like potatoes and cheese and everything. And I'm just thinking, you carry all this stuff while you're fighting and you're sweating probably. How does that cheese not go bad? I mean, how do you put all that food in a freaking knapsack without any of them going bad or going rotten? This is crazy. But obviously, these complaints are not things that make me dislike the anime at all. I just find it funny that I maybe should point them out. But anyways, I do like that even aside from, cooking food, Dungeon Meshi, cooking monsters, we still have really nice, very humane messages. There's an episode where our protagonists have a meal with the orcs, and apparently there is a huge racial war, or at least tension between orcs and other races, and they basically talk about it over a meal, and they learn to find common ground, which is a very interesting way to discuss racism and racial politics. But anyways, we have the Red Dragon arc, which lasted 3 episodes from, I think, episodes 11 to 13, or around that ballpark. And I know it's a hot take, but I didn't like this arc. In fact, I think the Red Dragon episodes are my least favorite episodes of the entire anime so far. Now, yeah, the fight against the Red Dragon is very entertaining. It's action-packed, I get it. But it gets too convenient too fast. The thing is, the dragon is really powerful, and the protagonists are not powerful at all. They're a bunch of idiots. And they are fighting the dragon, and they get hurt, and I was like, oh my god, are they gonna live with these injuries? And of course, no, because Marcel can heal them all. Fine. You know what? Healers are a thing in fantasy. This is a totally normal trope. But at some point, a character gets revived from the dead, and they were very, very dead. They're not just like, just died. And I just thought that they should just let death be death. I miss when animes treat death seriously, like Full Metal Alchemist. If someone dies in Full Metal Alchemist, they're actually dead. If you try to revive them, you and them will be cost. Like something crazy would happen, because that's like a universal law or something. So I really miss when death is actually death. And there are a lot of scenes during these episodes where I'm like, oh my god, like if I'm the writer, I would treat this way more seriously. But somehow everything just worked out fine and everyone just got along, and it was just too convenient. I get it. This is a slice of life comedy, like it's not serious, but still, when I see scenes like this, I can't help but think they should have treated it with a bit more seriousness. But anyways, good news, because after the Red Dragon arc, There is a lot of world building, and the story gets 10 times more interesting. The fights with the monsters are way more interesting. I really love this one episode where Marcel is having nightmares, and turns out the name of the monster is Nightmare, and they are essentially clams that sneak into your pillow, and whenever you sleep on the pillow, you have nightmares, which is so cool. Let's be honest here. And we have this trippy dream sequence where Laios goes into Marcel's dream and tries to save her. There is a fight with Griffith that involves some pretty weird voodoo magic that's fun and entertaining. And I just love how the story is deeply into mythological creatures. One of the creatures is called the Baramets. They are harmless. And Baramets are essentially the vegetable lamb of Tartary because when Europeans first found out about cotton trees, they thought a sheep is growing from a tree, and they were like, "Oh my god, a lamb is on a tree. That's crazy." And so this is where the myth came from, but of course that's not true. They just have never seen cotton before. But yeah, aside from that, the world building gets so much more interesting from here on out. There's a lot of politics and history with a lost kingdom and elves politics, and there's so many races of elves, dwarves, half-foot, tall man. There's like the eastern kingdoms and western kingdoms and all this stuff, and I like that. I like that I'm confused. I like that I don't know everything about this world and that there's more to offer. This is what a lot of writers would call soft world building. In fact, Lord of the Rings use the same world building style. This is called soft world building because you don't know everything about the world immediately. And even after 24 episodes, I still don't know anything about the world. I like that the dungeon in Dungeon Meshi is different for everyone. For some people, it's a lost city of gold where there's no one but monsters. For some people, it's a hidden subterranean living space for orcs and maybe some other mysterious groups of people. For some others, it is like a tunnel system or like a dam or something. Like for different characters, the dungeon means differently, and different characters experience the dungeon differently. And on top of that, the walls and the ground of the dungeon moves constantly, so it's like a maze. To some degree, it's like the island in Lost. You just never know what you're gonna get because it's such a strange structure, I guess. And that is really interesting. And after the ending, I was like, yeah, I can't wait to see more of Dungeon Meshi. You know what? It was a fun anime indeed. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it here. I'm late to class again, and I am giving Dungeon Meshi a decent 8 out of 10. So have you watched Dungeon Meshi? Comments below, let me know, subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.